There we go. So again, welcome to week 5 of Reinvention of Work. As I was saying, we will be first welcome. We'll do some centering as always. And today we're going to talk about listening and prototyping. Again, as I was saying, I have some fun exercises for you, and I'm hoping that you enjoy them as we go from the dream and the vision to what it is that we really want. And as we've been crafting our affirmations and deepening into our personal vision statement, moving down into how might we bring some of what is calling us into form. We'll make sure that throughout this process, we are going to be doing lots of, I want to make sure you get into some different small groups and further integrating what you're learning.
Deirdre, the slide that we're seeing is like the leader view. It has the next slide coming up, and so you might want to readjust that.
I did it again. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for keeping an eye on me. Okay, here we go. I thought I had desktop 2. I had desktop 1. Is that, can you see
that's
it?
better? Yeah.
Better? Thank you. I need everybody's help. And thank you, Roxanne, for watching my back as always. Oh, so here we go. So you read this poem in the way of conflict, but I wanted to bring it into this session as we think about listening. Wonderful piece of work from David Wagoner, and just we'll spend a moment. I'll read the poem and we'll give everyone a couple moments in silence, minutes in silence. So before we move forward, stand still. The trees ahead and the bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger. Must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen, it answers. I've made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again saying, here. No 2 trees are the same to raven. No 2 branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. And so today we're going to stand still and listen and look at the myriad of ways that we gather information to help us to move ahead. Everyone knows our group norms. We don't have anyone new with us, but we again stick with these. And I wanted to make sure, as always, that you get time to check in with one another. Over the past week, you've been reflecting, as Roxanne was bringing up earlier, what has been cooking within us as we worked on those affirmations and deepened into our vision and used artist meditation to do so. So I'm going to stop share and pause recording. There we go. And I'm getting thumbs up from Charlie that you can see this correctly. Yay. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So over the past weeks, now we're in our 5th week, we have been allowing ourselves to be in the Via Positiva, noticing what strengths, what opportunities might be within us and around us. We've allowed ourselves to connect into the Via Negativa, looking at where there might be possibility and the power and darkness and the difficult emotions and struggles that come as we move through saying no to forms that are no longer serving us. And so as we integrate those two, and as we've been talking about earlier, finding that mandorla between the two, what are these breakthrough solutions that are coming? And that lands us in the Via Creativa and looking at what lies ahead. We've been holding what is. You've been reading about that in the readings as well, that sense of what is and what is no longer, and noticing what might be. So new forms are starting to emerge, and we've been hearing that today. And as a result, when we reach a place of Via Creativa, we know from the new cosmology and the study of the universe over the billions of years, is that breakthroughs, when they come, they bring us a myriad of possibilities, many of which will not survive. And this can be overwhelming because we need to decide what form we want to spend some more time with, potentially try out. And so it demands a sense of listening. We're looking for solutions that have a lot of sure. We're going back to the art of war here, where the idea is that the sage commander is looking for that solution that is elegant. It's compared to playing chess. And at this particular moment, we're called to move the knight to that particular square. But when we played the chess game a different time, we may be using the pawn. Those elegant solutions where we go, oh, well, that makes sense. Meanwhile, all this work to come to this place is working on not needing to know what the end result is, and it's difficult. It takes us back to the wonderful subheading or the second title of David White's book of Crossing the Unknown Sea, where work is a pilgrimage of identity. That if we're crossing a sea or walking in a forest, as we talked about last week, and we're following a path that's already been trod, it's not necessarily our path. So how can we be in this place of creativity where there's many solutions and looking for the next steps that belong to us? So I wanted to provide some hopefully fun exercises for you around listening. The first is this concept of mind mapping, is how can we listen to what has energy for us, what's coming forward. And I think of mind mapping as a form of artist meditation. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity now. I'm hoping everyone does everybody have a piece of paper that they might be able to use? Just a nice blank piece of paper. It can be 8.5 by 11, or it can be even bigger. Sometimes I like to use the sketch paper. And in the center, you may put a circle, and I'll show you an example here that I was playing with earlier, where in the center, I just put the words "my work," or "my future work," you could put, and make a circle. And then notice what jumps off of that. So mind mapping is permission to allow our minds to go wherever it goes when we start with a particular set of words. So this person picked being outdoors. This is an example from someone who was using the book Designing Your Life, which I recommend. So Designing Your Life uses human-centered design, and we're going to talk about that a bit more, on how you want to make your life even better. And there's a wealth of exercises in there, so we're borrowing from that as we bring in mind mapping, designing your life. And it's written by two Stanford designers, come out of their school of design. And what they've done is, instead of figuring out what the next, great phone might look like, they're saying, how can we use design principles to move us forward? And they love mind mapping. So I'm going to give you all about, let's see, what's my timing here? I'll give you about 8 minutes to play with mind mapping. And what you do is, again, so you may start with my work in the center, and you go, okay, where's my brain go? And I go, my work. It's like, ooh, I want travel in my work. So I might make a circle that has the word travel in it. And where does that take me? And where does that take me? And notice, just allowing the branches to start. And then from there, we'll notice what particular components have the most energy for you. Oh. Stop sharing so I can see everybody, if that's all right. So and again, you can just keep playing with this as you go into your week. But as you may notice on this mind map that is on our screen, is that this gentleman started with being outdoors and then came back to notice he went being outdoors. So he went to surfing and travel and camping and hiking and nature. And you'll notice as he went off with surfing, he got to beaches and tides and cycles, and that brought up bicycles and wheels and racing. And in his case, the things that had the most energy was explorers, tropical beaches, pirates, exotic locations, and bicycles, wheels, and racing. And as he describes, these were some of the things that were calling him as he was thinking about where he wanted to experiment next when it came to his work. So looking at your mind map as you play with it, I like to, when I feel like something has a lot of energy, I put little, I don't know if you can see this, I put little circle, with the circle I put like, I give it the twinkles, the sparkles. So noticing as I was playing with it, where potential goals might be that as I think about moving forward, places I might want to experiment, places I might want to try. So using this is another place to a way of listening, but there's all sorts of ways that we can listen. It's important, I think, as I was saying earlier, was we open ourselves to new possibilities, and as we're holding the mandorla, and again, Patricia, thank you for bringing that, bringing the mandorla into our circle today. But holding the Via Negativa and Positiva together, as we read this week, I find an interesting synchronicity as I am looking for synchronicities to answer my questions, is how Rilke was brought up both by David White and by Matt this week when we were in our different readings. And I wanted to, that Matt kept from it when it came to thinking about the Via Creativa, how he kept coming back to Rilke again and again and again. And I wanted to read David White, how he brought forward you darkness. You darkness from which I come, I love you more than all of the fires that fence out the world. For the fire makes a circle for everyone, so that no one sees you anymore, but darkness holds it all. The shape and the flame, the animal and myself, how it holds them, all powers, all sight, and it is possible. Its great strength is breaking into my body. I have faith in the night. So how we're holding as we think about, holding that what we might do may make all the difference in the world, or it may not make any difference at all, and yet we're being called to do it. This sense that our work is poetry, and great poetry always holds the all, right? And so how can we listen in all these different forms as we ask for what we really want? And as you read, with this idea of how do we listen, not only just to that conversation that we overhear on a bus, to what we're reading, to our dreams, but also somatically what's coming up for us that calls us and says, yes, that has a lot of sure. I might just try that. Meanwhile, what often happens, at least with me, is that I go, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do that. This is all exciting. And I'm usually really excited to be getting out of the Via Negativa. So I want to do something. And so how do I cope with overwhelm? One of the areas that one of the disciplines that has really been helping me is, as I said, human-centered design, which is this idea that you just go try something. What's the next small step that I can do, and how I can just do an experiment, a prototype, and from there notice where I might be called. I want to bring into the circle my father, who in the recession of the 1970s lost job after job after job. And he really struggled. He was someone that was a real creative thinker, and was trying to work in corporate America. And again, as he was the first one who was coming in during the recession, he was often the first one to be laid off. But I got to watch him volunteer at our church, where he would help other people who had lost their jobs. Because not only did my dad lose 10 jobs over 8 years, he found 10 jobs. And he volunteered as someone who helped others to rewrite their resumes and to deal with the grief that came from losing one's job, and to find ways that they could be of service, even though they may not have been employed. This led him into being one of the first outplacement counselors in the country and being part of Outplacement International. And I got to watch him in his third chapter find a job that really fit him well as he was of service. So I see that as an example. But he had learned some things, and he just used his volunteerism to be able to work himself into a job. And I've seen this again and again and again. So how can we hold, as you all were bringing up earlier, that we don't need anything special other than wanting to serve, and that leadership really is nothing more than wanting to be of service. As we know, as Goethe has told us, providence takes hold when we say yes and we give something a try. And so watching, where did the synchronicities show up at work? Where is synchronicity at work when it comes to our work? All the while, we're holding this mandorla of, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed and I'm exhausted right now, or, oh my gosh, I don't think I am qualified, all the while with these great yearnings. So I wanted to have us do a listening exercise where we can try some of that on. So you read probably in The Way of Conflict about an exercise called Projectors and Screens. And this comes out of Peter Senge's amazing work around systems. And this recognition that we so often feel like we're alone, but we're all part of these great systems, and that as we share and as we work together, other synchronicities and magic happens. And this is a listening exercise that I wanted to pass along to you. So I'm going to put you in groups of 3 again. And we're going to, we've got enough time, is that each person is going to take 3 to 4 minutes maximum and share what ideas might be coming up and those inner conflicts that might be there, just as you were some of you were talking about earlier. So, for example, I may say, I want to create an institute for people who want to learn to lead well. And I might tell you about that institute and how excited I am about it, but then I might tell you, I want to also share the other side that goes on in my brain, which is, where would I have time to do that? That's so overwhelming. I need to hire people, so you kind of do the pros and cons that are going on in your head. You're going to assign one side to one person who is in your group of 3 and the other side to another person. So I might say to Mel, okay, I want to tell you, you're going to be, for me, I want you to, so I can see my inner conflict outside of me. So Mel may be the pro and Sally might be the con. And then those two, then once I've given them both sides, is they will then spend just a couple minutes sharing from what each side within me looks like outside of me. It's another way to listen. And hopefully to get more clarity. So I will let you know when you should switch for each time. So we'll do 8. I'll give you 8 minutes a person. So you'll and so each of you will get to be able to watch your inner conflict be described outside of you. So so for example, Mel Wood as a pro would say, well, this is an amazing idea, and here's what we're going to do, and here's how it's going to serve the world. And Sally may say, this isn't practical. How do we add this? And so their job is to just be those two sides so you can see it outside of you. And as a way, it's also a practice in us learning to listen to another and see if we got what they shared with us. Does it sound like fun? You want to give it a try? Thumbs up. All right. Okay. Thank you. Go back to sharing the screen. All right. So projectors and screens. And moving on, we've been talking about human-centered design. Why am I so jazzed about human-centered design? I was exposed to the work of IDEO, and some of you may have seen some of their work. I was going to put that in the chat for you. IDEO.org is a design firm that's been seeing that their role of understanding human-centered design as a way to be of service. So they have been very generous around how they teach others design principles and bring it out to social entrepreneurs around the world. Cannot recommend their work enough. If you get jazzed about it, Acumen Academy, Academy, I think it's .org, has a course that they teach periodically on rapid prototyping and human-centered design. And I just keep coming back to it for lots and lots of reasons. But the idea is this: instead of us coming in and saying, hey, you know, community, you have a problem and I'm going to fix it for you. It's the idea of having the vision of, and I know many of you have the, visions such as envision a world where every woman is safe and sound in her own home, or envision a world where every young man is brought into adulthood, supported by a community of men. Or I'm holding a vision of that people can understand the larger message that Jesus brought to us in a form that serves us and serves the world. So these visions come to us, and then how they come into form is a process of listening. So say I want to be working with middle school and high school boys. And this is then a process of listening and understanding more about what those boys need, where they're at, to figure out what might be a minimally viable product or prototype I'm going to try. And this idea of being human-centered is not we're coming in and overlaying something on a community, but out of the community, ideas and possibilities arise. So we try something very simple, and then we see what happens. So we test it, and then we reflect with that community to be able to refine and repeat. Again, repeating this process, again, coming back to those deep vision statements that you all are holding, and further refining how you can help to bring these things into the world. I wanted to show you, let's see, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second and share another screen that hopefully, let's see if I can do this. Where is it? Oh, darn it. Okay. I wanted to show you a video of how this idea of rapid prototyping is formed. Let me see here if I can do that. Thank you. I am learning here as I go. Let's see. Well, Darn. Okay, I had it all brought up, but now it somehow has disappeared. The joy, maybe that's the synchronicity to tell me we're not going to do it quite yet. So I'm going to send you that video. I think that's a better way to go. I'm going to send you that video just in the essence of time and not making you wait. Hopefully you can see. So it's a video that shows very simply how the process of creating a prototype and testing it out to give you ideas on how you might want to do it. Sometimes prototyping is just the idea of trying things out and having conversations. Trying out the minimally viable product might be an idea that you have about what might be a next step. And it could be an interview with another person and seeing what energy is generated within you that calls you to, if it calls you to move forward or not. So this is another way to deepen into it. All right. So thinking about that, as you think about, these are some of the questions to consider as you are in this Via Creativa stage. Noticing for you, what's holding energy with your work vision right now. As you created your mind map, what things did you want to start circling that you wanted to consider more? So if I look at mine, I noticed that, I start getting excited about creating a sustainable plan for my work and for the next 20 years, is thinking about what does sustainability look like. That had energy for me. Another was I noticed that that work was a source of joy. So noticing on your mind map, where might you be circling? What energy are you finding with that, and as well your work vision? What might you want to explore more? And what might be a small next step? And who or what might you want to listen to? So as we're saying, you've got this vision. What community do you want to get proximate to? So potentially you're saying, oh, I want to get more into career coaching, for example. Who or what, where do I want to be listening? It might be classes. It might be talking to a particular person. So it's following that somatic experience of where energy is arising and figuring out where might I just try something. Just as I was sharing with my father, where he's like, I really figured out how to rewrite a resume and deal with the grief. You know what? I'm going to see if they want me to teach a class. Just an experiment. So keeping it, low stakes. So I give that to you as something to consider. So holding those questions, and then I want us to do one more small exercise in our final 15 minutes or so, is how would we then create a SMART goal around what's calling to us next? And I'm gonna put you into pairs to do a little work around this, just so you have some help. Many of you have probably heard of SMART goals, kind of a classic in strategic planning and goal setting. But the idea is this: if I set a goal that I want to travel, the challenge is as human beings, I'm not as apt to do what I'm saying. So I say, I want to travel. It's like, oh, I want to travel. Okay, I want to travel. Well, yeah, I'm going to travel. Someday I'm going to travel. But if I create a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to my vision and time-bound goal, I'm much more apt to do it. So if you were to push me, you might say, so, you want to travel. Where do you want to go? I might say, I've always wanted to go to Africa. Well, where in Africa? Oh, I want to go to Uganda. So making it more and more specific. How can I measure it? How long am I going to go? And making sure that that's achievable as well. Do I have the budget for it? Making it relevant. Does it fit with my vision? Oh, yes, because I want to go and visit some of these fellows that I've gotten to work with over the years. And putting a time back, making it time bound, so that by June of 2025, I visit Uganda for 3 weeks to visit the alumni of the State Department programs I've gotten to meet. Notice that I go, ooh, okay, and then writing it down. Over the last 12 years, getting to work with fellows that I've been describing, I often ask them, did you write down a goal that brought you to us? And it's amazing how many of those students raise their hand. There's something about creating that cognitive dissonance, that creative tension inside our brains with a written down goal that's specific, measurable, that it we can achieve it, that's relevant to what we care about and time bound. It moves us forward. Now, what's wonderful about the achievable part is it keeps us from, overcommitting to, I'm going to create a major institute, which is okay to have as a long-term strategic goal, something that we put in our vision. But what are the small next goals that you might want to create for yourself? Some of them may be around self-care or collective care. Some of them may be about bringing more joy into your life. Maybe it might be to bring more play or art, more spirit in your work. Again, what might have that energy that calls you? So, if you don't mind, I'd love to give you 8 more minutes in pairs, so that you can debrief a bit about the doing the mind map, where energy is coming out of that projector and screen exercise, and what might be an experiment or a group of people or place that you might want to be listening to more. Does that sound good? All right, so I'm going to. All right. So just to finish up, making sure that we're ready for this following week. Again, as I said, Matt's going to join us next week. But so goal setting for me takes some time. So start to play with, refine, add to your goal section in your personal leadership plan. Again, same thing. We're going to keep reading away, and please do include art as meditation. You will have time in small groups next week as well, so that we can further deepen into the conversation that was not enough time this week, but you'll have some time next week. So thank you all so much. And I hope that you have an amazing week ahead. Any last questions or anything that you wanted to share? I'll turn off the recording.